Welcome to VidZet, your home for careful consideration of our common concerns. I'm Dr. Ted Noel. On Friday, the memo was released. The left had been on full scream trying to prevent it from coming out and is now complaining that their minority report wasn't released at the same time. Of course, they didn't even start writing their minority report until it was clear that the memo was going to be released, so it wasn't ready. Big surprise. It still has to be read by the entire House membership, then voted on for release, then reviewed by the White House, then held for 5 days, and then it can be released. It's rules. In short, when their ox is being gored, the left has to have their say instantly. But when the right wants to let the sunlight in, every possible roadblock has to be used. Is sauce for the goose really sauce for the gander? We will be forced to answer lefty objections as this goes along. We have the facts, but if we don't adopt Mike Cernovich's guerrilla mindset and the tactics in Ben Shapiro's How to Debate Leftists and Destroy Them, we'll have serious difficulties. But if we tackle this head on, the left will look even more stupid than they are. Remember, they simply cannot tackle us on the facts, so their only defenses are to demonize and deflect. And the last time I checked, neither one of us is a demon. The very first lefty defense against the memo was that, quote, it doesn't prove any wrongdoing. Of course it doesn't. It wasn't intended to. The memo is what's called an executive summary of the evidence. It's just like a lawyer's opening statement to the jury. It tells us the key things that the prosecution will prove when all the evidence is actually presented. Just what facts are those? The Department of Justice got a FISA Court to issue a warrant to surveil a U.S. citizen. Now, Carter Page supposedly represented some sort of security risk to the United States. He was also a volunteer in the Donald Trump campaign. Curiously, the DOJ did not use any authority based on communication with foreign agents. Instead, it used the provision governing surveillance of U.S. persons and is reserved for agents of foreign powers who are knowingly engaging in clandestine intelligence activities. In other words, they wanted permission for domestic spying. Now, back in 2001, the FBI created Woods rules for this sort of applications. It has at least, count them, 8 levels of review before the application can be sent to the FISA Court. This extensive review process is designed so that the FBI only presents verified information to the court when it asks for a warrant. And the FBI has to tell the court where it got its information. And the FBI must claim that Carter Page is a Russian spy. The House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence got to look at the FISA warrant application. They can't show it to us, but key points have been declassified. First, it depends on the so-called Steele dossier. The head of the FBI Counterintelligence Division testified that verification of the dossier was, quote, in its infancy when the application was submitted. Even Director Comey testified about it being unverified. The fact that the dossier was unverified should have kept it from being used, but we now know that Comey signed at least one of the applications that used it. That means he used it as if it was true. And his minions at the FBI concealed the fact that the dossier was paid for by Hillary Clinton. That's called a fraud on the court. That brings us to a second point. Every Republican on the committee agrees that FBI Deputy Director McCabe told the committee that without the dossier, there would have been no FISA application. Democrats say, no, 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 no. Now, both sides are claiming that they want the transcript of his testimony released. From a purely objective standpoint, this is a he said, she said type of standoff. But since the Democrats have been in full panic mode since the release of the vote to let the memo out, we have to suggest that Republicans are probably right. And that brings us back to our 8, count them again, 8 layers of review. There's only one realistic scenario here. As Cheryl Atkinson notes at The Hill, FBI Director Robert Mueller, that Robert Mueller, directed in 2003 that any question about the facts in a FISA application had to be brought to the FBI Director personally. Who was the FBI Director when this wiretapping happened? Drumroll, please. James Comey. The same James Comey who signed the application. And the application was renewed 3 times. If the application had to go that high in the Bureau, there had to be either a long list of people in the corrupt scheme or someone deliberately sidestepped the whole FISA process in order to defeat Donald Trump. And in doing that, they committed a whole series of felonies that can land them in jail until the sun burns out. But if Hillary Clinton had won, the whole thing would have been ignored and they would have gone on happily ever after. This whole witch's brew of swamp gas is about to explode. First, George Papadopoulos and Mike Flynn have pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI. But it's almost certain that the information that trapped them came out of those illegal wiretaps. That makes them inadmissible fruit of the poisonous tree. In short, Flynn and Papadopoulos can go to court and get their pleas thrown out. And reporting today suggests that Flynn's already on his way to the courthouse. Second, it appears quite likely that the entire special counsel investigation depends on the same fruit of the poisonous tree. And if that's the case, then Mueller should fold his tent and file a report that there is no there, and he's going home. Third, 1, 2, 3, stay tuned for perp walks. We will be seeing a lot of dominoes fall shortly. And don't be surprised if the breadcrumbs lead prosecutors to various Democrat Congress critters. Lining them up for their day in court during primary season would be most satisfying. One final accusation from the left must be answered. Nancy Pelosi declared that releasing the memo was treasonous. Adam Schiff called it an attack on the FBI. These are flat-out lies. We should shout from the rooftops that Nancy and Adam are full of Schiff. The memo does not reveal any secret sources or methods, so it cannot provide aid and comfort to an enemy. So much for treason. But these shrill voices go on. Since they can't and haven't argued that anything in the memo is false other than McCabe's testimony, they resort to name-calling. Schiff has declared that Republicans are doing Russia's business for them. As Kimberly Strassel of the Wall Street Journal notes, I've never seen anything approaching the desperation the D's have to keep this memo quiet. Every possible technique to make it go away will be used. We have to be ready. The memo exposes specific people within the DOJ and FBI who have committed felonies. They are the crooked cops who have to be removed, tried, and imprisoned. They're the ones that give good cops a bad name. When the left claims we're attacking the FBI, they are reversing the truth, and we must call them out as liars. By protecting bad actors, the left is staining the reputation of our key law enforcement agency. We are the good ones, acting to restore its good name. We have to speak out loudly and forcibly. If we don't, the lefty lies will prevail. That cannot be allowed. I'm Dr. Ted Noel. Please like VidZ on Facebook, support VidZ on Patreon, and follow @VidZ on Twitter. Thanks for watching.